to jump on here real quick and just kind of give you some, just a couple of things that might help you to keep your mind motivated, to keep yourself uplifted in a way that not only will you help yourself, but you'll help somebody else. And that's what we're generally here to do, right? Once you get a little bit older, you have a little bit more wisdom. Your job is to pass that on. Now, all I do is suggest you take what you need from it and use it. I was told one time, take what you hear, use the parts that you need, and the rest of it just throw away. So that's what I would encourage you to do. Okay. So I'm calling this one Your Voice Holds Power. Use it responsibly to create a positive change. Okay. So here are just a couple of action steps that maybe you can put into place. Maybe that will help you kind of narrow down some things, because we are all in the business of using our voices, so we can use it positively or negatively. So I hope that you choose to use your voice, because it truly does have power to make spaces and places a lot better than you found them. Okay, so the first action step is to reflect. Before you speak, consider your message and its intent. Is it truthful, kind, and constructive? Because we always want to, there's power in the tongue, so the word says, right? So we always want to be sure that what we're saying and what we're doing kind of line up, because you don't want to come off as somebody that's hypocritical, right? So you're saying one thing and you're doing something else. All right. So also the second point would be to do some research, be informed, base your opinions on facts, not assumptions. Now, we live in a society today that everybody's trying to give their opinion on, how things should be, or, give us commentary. And I'm not saying that that's wrong necessarily, but I think a lot of times, we want actions behind, what you're, reporting on or telling us about. I know I did. Because you hear the same things over and over again, but nobody's kind of giving you any kind of constructive criticisms where you can move forward and actually change some things. Okay. And another thing would be to listen, to engage actively in the conversation, to understand the different perspectives. What I'm seeing, and what is very disheartening for me these days, is that people don't know how to have a conversation. They don't even know how to debate properly. A lot of times it's now based on emotion. And so people get very irritated and they get their feelings hurt, and then they want to criticize and belittle somebody. And I would say that, I don't know why that pattern has emerged, because you're seeing that not only in our young people, but we're seeing that in our older people. And it's disheartening, because without conversation, without a way to understand and see other perspectives, we live in a world where nobody wants to engage with you. Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to be in your space. And so that's that kind of defeats the purpose of this, because if we're going to use our voice, we want people to want to be around us, to want to engage with us, to spend time with us, because that's the only way that we can affect change. And the next point is to empathize. Consider the impact of your words on somebody else, right? That is hugely important, because now I expect we should always be kind and we should always be considerate. I'm not telling you that just agree just to get along, because that doesn't help anybody. I don't think that you need to be argumentative or be offended by everything that you hear somebody says. But you do have to have the ability to kind of see where they're coming from, to kind of, because sometimes you just simply got to agree to disagree. Okay? Choose your platform. Now, I don't really know if you're trying to be a community contributor or a business owner, but this is very important, that you select the channels that you want to get your message out on, the audience that you want to speak to. Now, it could just simply be your children at the house, and you want to be more effective in how you communicate with them, or your husband, or a friend, or something. So, being able to have the surroundings, the area, the comfort zones that you need to kind of express yourself, it's hugely important. Okay. I was talking to a coworker and she was talking about a situation of going out and not knowing how to dress. My thought process on that is to, wear the things that make you comfortable. Now, purple is my power color. So if I need to find that confidence to be in an area or a situation that's, not so comfortable for me, I choose the color purple because that's where my power lies. Okay. So choose those things that make you have that inner confidence, that inner peace, that inner power that is necessary to command the space that you're in. Okay. Now, the next one is be respectful. Now, I shouldn't even have to say this, but it is hugely important to, even in a disagreement, to remain civil, because that's how people hear you. You yelling and screaming, getting all emotional, people shut you down. So, I would suggest that we don't do that, okay? And also, then next would be to focus on the solutions, contribute constructively to the discussion. Because if you can offer something, even if you can offer your life as an example, now I'm not saying that you need to get all into your personal stuff, but if you can give somebody a cause and effect and they can see how it all works together, then there is power in that. And sometimes it's not in what you say, but your actions. So a lot of times, if we can show up in the world in a way where we can demonstrate to others how to show up in the room and command it, how to be mindful and be respectful, that goes a long way. Okay. The next one is to amplify the marginalized voices. Use your platform to uplift other people. That is how you can make a huge difference, because people usually take you on based on how you make them feel about themselves and what you can do for them, because people don't really care about your stuff. Now, I know that might be harsh, and it might be, well, why don't people care about my stuff? Well, you should be able, I would say at this stage of life, to have the ability to validate yourself, to be really self aware, to understand where you thrive and where you don't, where your power lies and where it does not. And stop trying to walk into places and situations and circles that are not your thing. Now, sometimes we got to show up in ways that, well, we may not want to, but in those instances, that's where that power play comes in. Whether it's a color, whether it's a something that you need to hold in your hand, whether it's a thought process or words of affirmation that you got to tell yourself. But always have the ability to uplift others. Okay. Then acknowledge mistakes. Be willing to learn and grow, because nobody's perfect. So you got to be able to say, you know what, I failed at that. Oh, that wasn't my best moment. And there are a lot of things that I've tried and failed at. That's just the name of the game. That's just lifing. That's just adulting. There will always be something that you're not so good at, but be okay with that and understand that you can you can get past that. Okay? And then finally, number 10, inspire action. Encourage positive change through your words and your deeds. Let your words and actions match up. Don't just be one that just spews things. Don't be one that just, can always see the wrong in somebody else and what they're doing, and think that you pointing it out to them is the way that you need to show up for them, or that they're going to just be grateful. Okay? Sometimes they are, but generally they are not. Now, responsible voicing builds bridges. It fosters understanding and it drives meaningful action. Now, let's use our voices for the good. Okay, so if this has been beneficial to you, subscribe, like, and share, and we'll do this again. Okay, guys, I'll talk to you later.